Come on down to Archibald Dunlap's Chicken Snaps and Ice Cream Store. And gonna get the ice cream and put it on the chicken and Archibald, Mr. Dunlap. What? Huh? What is it? Someone's here to visit you. You have 5 minutes to talk and then it's back to the hole for you. Who's here? Is it Prudence? One of my 20 sons. Who?
Hello, Mr. Dunlap. Let me start by saying that I'm quite the fan.
Who are you? I don't know you. Are you with the birds?
No, Mr. Dunlap. I can assure you that I serve no birds. Please, call me Ian. Ian Cognito. I have a bit of a proposition for you, Mr. Dunlap. One that I think will catch your interest. You see, I require someone with your, imaginative thinking.
Why's that? What do you need with an old coot like me?
Well, I won't give too many details here. There are too many ears, but we must act swift. We really only have until the end of the month. Halloween, to be exact.
What are you planning to do, Ian?
I can't say much here, Mr. Dunlap. I'll get you out of this prison for the weak and feeble, a place someone like you should never be in. I will just ask one question, though. How do you feel about kidnapping a few writers?
Hello and welcome everybody to Impromptu Fiction with Lane and Friends, your new favorite improvisational fiction podcast. My name's Lane and we'll be getting to our friend in just a moment, but a brief word from our sponsor. Oh dear. So, I know a couple weeks ago we just got that weird letter from Archibald Dunlap, and I have another one here. It's not in his handwriting, it's just written in black paper with red ink, and it just says, call Ian Cognito. So I guess Ian Cognito is sponsoring the show this week. Thanks, maybe? Anyway, let's just forget about that, and let's get to the rules of the show, in case this is your first time listening, and if that's the case, I'm sorry. The rules are simple. I get together with a rotating selection of writers, and we both write a story based off of a prompt that I've created, or I've stolen from Tumblr's writing prompt. Shh. After we write our stories, we get together and we present them to each other for the first time, and we're not allowed to edit, and we're not allowed to rewrite, and yeah, that's basically it. It's very simple to follow. So let's get to the friend for this episode. I don't think he needs any introduction, and I'm not going to do that silence bit because I already did it with James. It's Alexander.
Hello.
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm all right.
Good. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am the co-creator of Greater Boston, which is a show set in a somewhat fantastical version of Boston, Massachusetts. I am also the audio producer on What's the Frequency? You've heard my partner on that show already. That was James Oliva. And yeah, that's mainly what I'm doing in audio these days.
Well, good. I'm sorry that you have to work with James. I know what a nightmare that can be.
It's been 30 years. I'm used to it.
Oh, geez. I'm sorry. I think you deserve a medal or something. I think you become the president after that. I mean, there's no there's no qualifications anymore. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah. He'd be a big improvement. I'd be a big improvement. Half of either of us would be a big improvement.
Half of either of us? What are you trying to say? I wouldn't be a good president?
No. You'd be a big improvement.
No, I don't think so. I couldn't handle all that stress. I barely handle the stress of this show.
I could not either. I have never had any desire for that sort of responsibility.
So if you were hoping for either of us to run for office, I'm sorry, your dreams have fallen flat.
Yeah, no.
Like most dreams I've found. People think I'm really depressed, and it's true. Anyway, let's talk about the writing prompt.
Oh, let's laugh at that.
Hey, it's okay, I'm allowed to. None of you are. If you laughed at that joke, you have to stop the podcast and stop listening. I'm sorry. Oh my god, so what was the prompt? I think it was, you have just found out that you're royalty. The only downside is that a rival clan is coming after you.
Yes, and as we've already established, I don't want this responsibility.
Yeah, me neither. So, so thankfully, I wrote it as another character because I like to bend the rules of this show.
Oh, yeah, I took the you literally. I took it as it should be first person.
Well, we'll see how this goes. You were already talking on Twitter about how stupid this story was. Now I'm interested.
Oh my god, it's so dumb. I really went at it from how would I have written a story in 4th grade? Like that sort of story logic.
I think that's how we should all write our stories. That sounds great. Some would argue that I already write like I'm in the 4th grade.
Oh, no, that's not true.
All right, so I guess I will start us off, as I always do. I don't know why I'm acting like that's a big... I'm changing it up. I'm going to be reading the first story. This title makes no sense. Because I wrote the title before I wrote the rest of the story. It's called Val, King of the Narwhals, and before we get into it, the main character's name is not Val, so I don't know who the hell Val is. And
you kind of set that up from the start. You'd think that part you could follow through on.
Trust me. I can fail at a lot of things. And then King of the Narwhals, I mention it, but I don't really go into what a king of the narwhals would be, because I also don't think that the main character's a narwhal. So, write your titles after you write your fucking stories, kids. That's Lane's message for the day.
We can just call that backstory.
Yeah, you know what? It's a mystery. Who do you think Val is? Real art is how you interpret it, not how the creator interprets it. Is it true that Val is just all of us, and we are all kings of narwhals?
It's you're running against Beckett here. It's like Godot.
Oh God. Okay, I gotta. Now that we know that the title doesn't make any sense, I will get into the story. Legend tells of the great God King of the Narwhals. See, because it's also God King, not King. I fuck up everything in the first sentence. Sir Spriggan's Pussywillow began his life as a lowly beet farmer, spending his days in the mud, farming and tending to his flock of seagulls.
Oh, we're going prog rock.
Yeah. The seagulls weren't being used for anything. Spriggans just loved them. Where most saw annoying, privileged birds, Spriggans saw family. He had 3 altogether, all named Tim, even the female among them. Yes, there was nothing Spriggans loved more than beets and seagulls. Rather an odd combination, but Spriggans was an odd man, that much was true. Once beat a man with a corpse because Spriggans felt like he was being looked at the wrong way. Turned out, man just had a lazy eye. Spriggans received quite a bit of ridicule that day. Not cool, Spriggans. Not cool at all.
Was that beat a man with a corpse?
Yep, he beat a man with a corpse. That's what I wrote.
Just had one lying around.
I mean, don't you? I have
as
several
one
in
does.
my closet. Yeah, for the specific purpose of beating. When Jehovah's Witnesses come to my door, I just grab one by the ankle. Talk to me about Jesus, will you? Anyway, Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. You don't really care about Spriggan Pussy Willow's days as a beet farmer, nor do you care about when he became Miriak's most downloaded porn star for 3 years running. No, you care about the moment, the very day, that our young Pussy Willow became the ruler of our devastated lands. You care about the day where Spriggan's Pussy Willow became God King of all the land. So he advanced. He's no longer just king of the narwhals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe that's the name of the country? Maybe it's the kingdom of Narwalia? And so
you know what? We'll go with that. We'll go with that.
It's not the species. They're just ethnic narwhals.
They're just ethnic narwhals. I know what my next tattoo's gonna be. Well, I'll get to that story in a moment. Need to stretch real quick. Yeah, that's the good stuff. Oh, Daddy likes. And then I continue for 27 more pages, and you all have to sit through it. All right. Whew, that was the good stuff. Okay, here we go. The story of young Spriggan's Pussy Willow, God King of Miriak. And then we have a dramatic pause here. You can't be serious, Spriggans blurted out, nearly dropping all the beats he had in his hands. I've been fooled before, mister, but you can't seriously expect me to believe that tale. The hooded figure before him garbled, tendrils twisting and dancing about. A singular red eye stared at Spriggans for a few moments, truly adding to the awkward silence. After another minute of intense staring, the creature coughed, black bile shooting out from underneath the hood. Oh dear, excuse me. Last night's dinner isn't agreeing with me. What passed as a chuckle escaped the monster's lips? If there were lips, it would definitely have come from there. Anyway, no, Mr. Pussy Willow, I'm not teasing you. You are the next heir to the throne. You are to be God King of the Narwhals. That's impossible, though. Spriggans retorted, his eyes wide with confusion. My family ain't no royalty. My father's an exotic dancer in Whitehall, and my mother is an accountant. Me, I'm a lowly beet farmer and seagulls enthusiast. How do I have any claim to the throne?
You all right?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right. I don't know why I write the things I write, Alex. I think
I just heard like it sounded like you fell down.
Oh no, something fell on my desk because I am a slob. I lost where I was. Now, okay. The hooded, tentacled figure gasped with excitement. Oh, I was hoping you'd ask that very question, Mr. Pussy Willow, it called out, reaching into its blackened cloak, pulling a parchment of yellow paper out and allowing it to unravel. There was a good 2 feet of documentation on this parchment, along with dozens of well-made, if not necessary, drawings of kittens and poodles. This right here explains everything in excruciating detail. Would you like me to go into explaining it all? I have nothing but time. My husband left me 2 days ago, so I've got nowhere to be. Oh, by the whores above, I'm so sorry to hear that. Don't worry. I'm not even sad. Not even a little bit. There came another brief moment of silence between them, Spriggans leaning in just a tad closer. Are you sure? You aren't even a little sad about it? Of course I am. I'm terribly depressed. The hooded figure cried out, its tendrils curling up as it pointed towards the drawings of baby animals. Why do you think I drew all of these fucking kittens and puppies? Because I'm happy? No. I did it because I can't think of anything else other than how lonely I am in this world.
Poodle's the official animal mascot of misery.
Not no. One could make an argument. There was a breath. Now, please, can I explain this chart to you? It's literally the only thing I have left going for me right now. We've all been where this dude's been.
Sometimes all you've got is paperwork.
Sometimes all you've got is charts with genealogies on it. Spriggans stood there and blinked once or twice, trying to process all that was going on right now. I guess? He didn't know what else to say, bringing his arms up in a shrug. The figure before him changed their demeanor back to the chipper, excited self it was just moments before. Oh, excellent. Now, I hope you have at least 5 hours. Gonna take quite a bit to explain this expansive family tree. Oh, I can hardly wait, Spriggans grumbled, pulling up a seat to place himself upon, a seagull landing on his head, looking just as bored as he was. Great! Now, the figure pointed at the very first paragraph, one of many thousands. It all starts when our timeline was invaded by Rick Brennigan, Time Knight.
He's back.
He's back for another episode. No, he's not. That's just the only mention. Sorry, Rick Brennigan fans. You'll have to wait.
And here I thought we were developing continuity.
No, I can't even do it with Sable. Now I have to do it with this show. My God, man, how much time do you think I have to do like actual work?
It is the way of all fictional worlds.
Everything is connected. Little known fact, Sable takes place in the same universe as in Greater Boston. Just because I say it does.
It's possible.
What followed was 22 hours of nothing but family trees, contradictions, and disputes. The figure taking breaks every now and then asked Spriggans what he thought of the creature's illustrating skills. The baby animals were well done, that much was for certain, but Spriggans grew tired of stating that every single time the figure looked for approval. So soon, it just evolved into pleased grunts and nods, his eyes looking everywhere but the drawings. If the hooded thing realized this, it made no effort to grab at Spriggans' attention. It was just happy to have someone to talk to. By the gods above, it was lonely. Around hour 23, Spriggans' Pussy Willow awoke, groaning into the air as he saw that hooded beast was only halfway down the parchment. Rubbing at his eyes, Spriggans sprang from his seat. Enough! But... The hooded thing sounded quite upset, its singular red eye filling with tears. I haven't even gotten to the best part yet. Spriggans growled low. It doesn't matter. I believe you, 100%. I am God King, ruler of all Mariac. Just give me my crown or whatever it is I need in order to get this madness to stop. He sighed. I have such a bad headache. Oh, but you don't get the crown just yet. What do you mean I don't get the crown? I'm king, aren't I? Spriggans took one step closer. God King of the Narwhals, in fact. So if I'm not mistaken, I am owed a crown. You aren't owed anything. Not yet, at least. The figure seemed to take a couple hesitant steps back. There's just one little itty-bitty thing you need to do first. Spriggans' face grew red with anger. What could I possibly have to do now? I just listened to you gab on and on for about a day. What more is there? Well, you see, it's, out with it. The hooded being slumped away further into the darkness surrounding the beat farm. There is another who has claim to the throne. Why didn't you mention that before? Because if you knew who'd have... Oh, bleh. I am drunk at 9 a.m. Because if you knew who you'd have to face, you'd have never let me read off my chart. And I so do love reading off my charts. The air around them seemed to grow tense as Spriggans looked upon the other creature. Who do I have to face? Why would I turn down the offer if I knew who it was? In the distance, Spriggans could hear heavy footfalls coming from the east. His heart began to thump inside his chest, sweat forming on his brow. Whatever was out there was big, and it was bringing friends. Who do I have to fight? A thunderous roar ripped through the heavens, causing the very ground beneath them to shake and rattle, cracks forming in the soft earth. Several more soon followed, probably by the unknown monster's allies. Spriggan's face grew deathly pale, all the blood from his face disappearing in the blink of an eye. You have to fight... Yes, that was not the hooded figure's voice.
Spriggan better load up on all the corpses he can carry.
Yeah, get all of them. You have to fight Golgrax, leader of the hamster tribe.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. Like, obviously, duh. Everybody knows Golgrax.
Hamster's the natural enemy of the narwhal.
Exactly. Look, I did some research, and narwhals are definitely terrified of hamsters.
Oh, I've seen them go at it. It's a sight.
It's a bloody... Never. That's why we don't let hamsters go back into the sea, because it'd just be a bloody fight. If on cue... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, you know how all those horns that led people to believe in unicorns got on the beach, don't you?
Absolutely. It was narwhals. No, sorry, it was hamsters. They're vicious fuckers.
Yep.
They get you with their cuteness. As if on cue, 3 giant rodents appeared from the deep dark of the night sky. The 2 in the back were covered in red and white fur, their leader in all black. Crudely forged armor adorned their chests and waist, Golgrax wearing 2 heavy-looking gauntlets made of silver. The black rodent stared at Spriggans, a vicious grin appearing on his face, 2 bloodied cracked teeth chittering in glee. Oh, fuck me, Spriggans whispered, looking towards the hooded figure. Do I really have to fight him? I don't mind just handing over the throne to him. I didn't want it anyway, honest. The hooded figure shook its head slowly. Afraid not. Golgrax loves a good scuffle. He won't accept the throne until he's beaten you into a bloodied pulp. But he has 2 others with him. I can't fight all 3 of them. Never said it was going to be an easy fight. There was some truth to that, no matter how much it pissed Spriggans off. Now, I suggest you get ready. Looks like he's coming right for you. What? Spriggans couldn't speak any further as a backhanded slap sent him flying through the air, his body crashing into his house, breaking down the left wall upon impact. Curses spilled out past his lips, but they were soon silenced as another strike sent him through his house and out the other end, rolling about on the ground for quite a few feet until he came to rest upon a batch of freshly grown beets, all smashed by his weight. The massive rodents all laughed with glee. I can't say that sentence for some reason, raising their hands up into the air with triumph. Golgrax moved to strike Spriggans once more, completely destroying the small home as he barreled through it, dashing towards the downed farmer.
Golgrax king now,
he screamed, bringing his foot up to slam against Spriggans' face. Spriggans let out a scream until he realized that there was no foot against his chest. In fact, Golgrax was nowhere near him at this point. The farmer blinked, lifting himself up to look about, to see where the giant rodent had gone. It was at that moment that he heard Golgrax screaming in fear, the other rodents doing the same. The farmer's friends, the seagulls. Yep. Were flying towards Gulgrax and his bodyguards, screeching and nipping at the rodent. There was a little-known fact about Gulgrax's people, and that was that they were all... I wrote, and so the sentence that I wrote, because I was tired or something, who knows, and that was that they are all feared seagulls. I wrote that.
Eloquence is the chief virtue of the writer.
That's why we don't allow ourselves to edit these stories, so that we can catch ourselves. I cannot believe I wrote that.
Oh, I often find many, many words missing in my writing on going through it the second time.
Well, I'm just going to read it like it's written, because I'm a professional, damn it. There's a little-known fact about Gulgrax's people, and that was that they are all feared seagulls. Saw them as demons from the underworld.
Never mind,
Gulgrax bellowed, heading for the hills.
Never mind, you king now. Just get birds away from me.
All three of the giant rodents vanished into the night once more, screaming out for their mothers and fathers until they could no longer be heard. Spriggans just stood there in disbelief, his seagull companions moving to stand upon his body, all chirping with glee, proud of their work. What the fuck? And that, my friends, is how Spriggan's Pussy Willow became God King of the Narwhals. Unfortunately, his rule only lasted about a good year or two before everyone realized that perhaps they shouldn't have a king that was but a simple beet farmer. They ran Spriggans out of the castle and back to his farm, where he still tends to his fields of beets, his seagulls not too far behind, always watching for their master's safety. The end.
Wow, a happy ending!
Yeah, for once, I think that might actually be the first happy ending on this show.
Very nice.
Yeah, well, thank you.
We've got animal alliances. We've got naturally seagulls align more with the creatures of the sea than the creatures of the land.
Absolutely. So technically, this means that seagulls are stronger than narwhals.
Yes. Given that hamsters are also stronger than narwhals, but cave to the awesome might of the seagulls.
Scientists, if you need any real workers doing the real jobs here, like me, just hit me up.
We have established the martial hierarchy.
I'm speaking the truth no one wants to admit. Seagulls are our real enemies. We need to take care of them.
I don't know if they're protecting us from hamsters.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So if you have a hamster, please feed it to your closest seagull. You're really doing the world a service, and we all thank you.
It's like
now people are going to think I hate hamsters. I'm in a whole thing. I'm still going through the hate mail for James's story. I can't deal with another scandal here.
I haven't actually listened to James's yet.
Oh, well.
I usually listen on the subway, and I have a very definite impression that that's not one I want to listen to in public.
I would listen to it very low so no one can hear it from your headphones.
Yeah.
My story was pure. You can listen to my story.
Okay.
That's fine. Just don't listen to James. Just pretend James doesn't exist.
He makes that difficult.
He does. Also, before we
James,
go
I can't
further,
keep saying mean things about James. I love you, James.
I can keep saying mean things
you
about
can.
James.
No, I encourage it.
Before we go any further, if anybody hears any hammering in the background, people are doing some work on the roof, and I can't like lean out the window and go, "Excuse me, sirs, I have a podcast I'm doing. Can you stop, please?" So, if it bothers you, don't at me. Don't message me. I don't care. No, it's
just accept that these are stories that call for an ambiance of roofers.
Yeah, think of the hammers as clapping.
They're just improvisational fiction enthusiasts.
Exactly. They wanted to work on this roof as soon as they knew who was in the house. They were, "Oh, Mr. Lane from Impromptu Fiction with Lane and Friends." We'll do this roof right away.
See?
Oh god, that is loud. I might have to be silent for most of Alex's story.
No, don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're right. Fuck it. Fuck you, listener. All right, well, before we get to Alex's story, a brief word from our very weird and mysterious sponsor.
Hello, my name is Ian Cognito, and I have one question to ask you. Have you ever dreamed of being royalty? Are you tired of those that don't deserve greatness towering over you, showing you the wealth they have not earned? How angry does that make you? How furious are you right now? Well, allow me to calm those fears, for I have the solution. Join me. Join me in my fight to topple the idiotic giants that cast us in their shadows. Join me as we feast on the bones of the old empire, building something stronger than ever before. Join me, and I promise you a throne. My name is Ian Cognito, and the war has just begun.
And we're back, and Alex, I do believe you also have a story for us. At least I would hope so.
I do indeed. I named my story after I wrote it, so it ties in a bit more.
Okay. All right. Humble brag.
Though I do think it's important to note that we both responded to this prompt by starting with protagonists carrying root vegetables.
Oh, okay.
So there's just something to that.
We all love a good underdog story.
All right. So I have called mine The Kingdom of Disappointment. And
it's where we all want to live.
And let's see how well I can live up to that.
So is the goal to be as disappointing as possible?
Sometimes.
Okay, I don't know. Pacific has you beat. Yeah, I'm being mean to all my... I shouldn't be mean to my guests. I love them all. Except for James. Go fuck yourself, James. I hope you're listening to this. Alex says he hates you. He told me before we started recording. Said you're a terrible friend.
No.
That's not true.
Okay, so should I start?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So 50 cents isn't much to pay for a kingship. I have to say that for it, at least. It was a bargain. I mean, I wasn't really aware that a kingship was something you could buy in the first place. Mostly you hear of kings inheriting their crowns from, other kings, or else taking their kingship by violent conquest. Personally, I've got no aristocratic family that I know of, and I've never really been one for conquest. But to be honest, I never really wanted a kingship either. If I'd realized that's what I was getting, I probably would have thought better of it. I'd only gone out for a few groceries, cream, parsnips, some guacamole, but I'd been in the habit of collecting a set of finger puppets from the quarter machines at the front of the store.
As you do.
It was a great series of finger puppets. They're called the Finger Thinkers, and they're all modeled on important inventors and innovators from throughout history. I'd got a Nikola Tesla puppet, and Marie Curie, and Hedy Lamarr, and a whole bunch of others. And I'd sort of felt like maybe my collection was big enough. Like, I had almost 100 finger thinkers, which is an awful lot of finger thinkers. But the problem was, toward the end of my collecting, I picked up a Charles Babbage. And Babbage was great and all, but we all know he'd have been nothing without Ada Lovelace. So I couldn't leave the team incomplete. I had to keep going. So there I am with my guacamole and my cream and my parsnips, and I've got 2 quarters in my pocket, so I figured, yeah, let's give this another shot, and hopefully not get another Edison, as it already had 19 Edisons.
And you don't need any more Edisons.
No, there's enough Edisons. So I plunk in my quarters, and I turn the crank, and I collect my capsule from the chute. But when I pop it open, at first I feel like I totally got cheated, because there's no puppet in there. There's no puppet at all. Just a chair. Like this tiny little chair carved from wood. It's really ornate and it's cool and all, but it's not adding anything to my finger thinker collection. But then I realized there's also a note with it, rolled up with the itty-bittiest wax seal keeping it tight. So I crack the seal and unroll the note. And would you believe it? It's a royal decree. Which you've probably guessed by now, but at the time, I was completely taken by surprise. And it declares that the previous king, having no heirs, had decided to appoint his successor by secret lottery, allowing it to fall to the first person to find the hidden throne. And there it was. It had been inside the quarter machine the whole time.
Damn.
So, next thing I know, the staff of the store have all gathered round to congratulate me and prostrate themselves, and then the assistant manager takes me aside to give me the full lowdown on my kingdom's boundaries and protocol. So the assistant manager, his name's Fredly, like friendly, but without the N. Fredly tells me my new kingdom centers on Foodland, the Foodland we're in. But it includes the whole strip from the Nails and More at the East End, all the way down to the sports-themed sandwich shop at the West End.
Holy shit. That's a great kingdom.
It's a great kingdom, and I always kill myself with alliteration, whether I intend to or not.
I do it all the
time. So, sorry, where was I? Okay. Oh, yeah. Also included is about half the next strip as well, including the pet shop and another nail salon, which had been annexed through conquest, through the conquest of 1983. So he explains that I've got pretty much free reign as king, that the subjects of the kingdom had pretty much always been on board with dictatorial monarchy, so long as their kings didn't get pervy with their demands. So as an initial test of my power, I immediately banned the sale of those, the Just Add Water bottled pancake batter things. Fredly got right on the intercom and ordered the floor staff to pull the entire supply from the shelf and toss them in the incinerator.
See, I would have left that kingdom. Day one. You will not take my Bisquick.
But it's so easy to make pancake batter.
Oh, I'm sorry, we don't all have time to make pancake batter. Jesus.
So, I'm a dictator. What do you want? So, anyway, I got all
as your king, I promise to put a pancake in every house. And an egg in every fridge.
So, I got all chuffed, as you can imagine. I got all chuffed, as you can imagine, never to that point in my life having an opportunity to wield such power. So then I explained to Fredly about the finger thinkers. and how what I really needed was an Ada Lovelace. And he said he'd see what he could do and left me there to make myself comfortable in my royal chambers, which were pretty nice. Classic wood paneling, an air conditioner, a nice wall tapestry illustrating the complete dairy production process. Even a little black and white television on a stand by the couch. I'd have to get someone to bring my collection over from my apartment, but there was a liquor cabinet against the wall that could easily be repurposed as a display cabinet for all my finger puppets. I stuffed my cream in the mini fridge under the desk, then kicked back to watch Airwolf reruns while I snacked on my parsnips and guacamole. I don't know why that was the one. I'm not sure I've ever even seen an episode of it, but that's what popped into my head.
I know I haven't. You might as well have just been like, and I sat back and watched Hogan's Heroes.
Oh, I'm not that old. I know I'm older than everyone in this community, but not quite that old. So, anyway, that's when a woman stepped out from behind the dairy production tapestry. It pretty well startled me, and I fell backwards in my chair, losing a half-eaten parsnip under the couch. She gave me a hand up and introduced herself as Paella. You know, like Pamela, but without the M. And explained that she was a representative from the neighboring kingdom who'd come to negotiate the return of the pet store and nail salon. And she'd been waiting in the royal chamber since the previous king had died, which had been several years ago. But
oh my God.
But she explained that the mini fridge was kept very well stocked, so that was all right.
Well, at least she was comfortable.
Still, I suspected something wasn't right, because why should she hide behind the tapestry unless she was up to something nefarious? To which she admitted that, well, yeah, she had decided to steal my throne using violent conquest, thereby consolidating rule of both kingdoms under her own sovereign. I mean, duh.
Yeah, duh, of course.
And she came at me with a letter opener that she'd found on the desk, but fortunately I had also dropped my guacamole when I fell out of my chair, which gave her a good tumble when she slipped in it, allowing me to get out the door unstabbed. I decided I should take myself out of the supermarket for the time being, since assassins could be hiding anywhere. So taking a contingent of grocery baggers to serve as my honor guard, I headed out, and 2 stores down, to a cell phone store that lay within the borders of my domain. I figured that'd be the safest place, since cell phone stores are just big empty rooms, with only one little display for cases and screen protectors in the middle of the sales floor. No place to hide for assassins to hide there. I do have to hide twice in that sentence.
To hide from assassins.
Yes, no place to hide for assassins to hide there. And
well, assassins need places to hide too.
That's their whole deal.
Yeah.
And anyway, I figured if I was king now, that meant I could probably afford to upgrade my phone from the old flip-top model I'd been carrying since 2003. The phone store manager was initially confused at the bustling entry of my entire retinue, but I showed him my throne, and he immediately made the appropriate prostrations. I figured I ought to keep the throne visible to avoid misunderstandings, and fortunately I had a nice pin on the back. Fortunately... Now I lost my spot. What do I say? Fortunately, it had a nice pin on the back, so you could affix it to your lapel. I wasn't wearing anything with lapels, just a t-shirt and windbreaker, and I was reluctant to put holes in the windbreaker, so instead I stuck the pin through the drawstring for the hood. The throne hung at kind of a weird angle that way and kind of banged around across my chest when I walked, but it was plenty visible, which was the important part. I dispatched one of the baggers back to the supermarket to find Fredley and let him know what was going on. He turned up a few minutes later looking both agitated and sheepish, repeatedly apologizing for not thoroughly sweeping the royal chambers for foreign agents before leaving me there on my own. I forgave him, as it had been a number of years since he'd had a king to provide security for. He also said that he'd had a stock boy crack open the finger thinker quarter machine and inspect the contents, and unfortunately none of the current capsules contained an Ada Lovelace.
No.
But he had initiated contact with the supplier, and was working to negotiate a specific purchase rather than the usual randomized lot. From there, Fredley and I discussed some ways we could resolve the conflict with the neighboring kingdoms so I might be able to relax in my chambers peacefully. I suggested that we could just return the lands we had claimed in the previous violent conquest, but Fredley argued that that would show weakness and fear and only embolden them to conquer us fully. He then suggested that we would consolidate the kingdoms peacefully through marriage. That approach held some appeal, but I explained that unfortunately I was technically already married to Stephanie Courtney, the actress who plays Flo, the progressive insurance lady, due to a paperwork misfiling at the Department of Records.
Man, I hate when that happens. I hate when I get that marriage certificate saying that I'm married to the actress who played Flo.
It happens to a lot of people. It's very strange.
I'm just kidding. I wouldn't be upset about that at all. In fact, if you're listening, actress who played Flo.
It's amazing the cult that has formed around just people really, really being into Flo.
Yeah, I remember there was it was one of their weird Playboy covers where they were like, oh, well, the model that we have on the cover isn't naked. I remember a bunch of people in her fandom being like, Jesus Christ, we didn't even get to see her tits. Just her smiling on the fucking cover. What the fuck? I imagine that's how they all sound.
Yeah,
sorry, yeah.
I think that's probably fairly accurate. Indignant Playboy readers and / fans of insurance agent spokespeople.
Yeah, hey, whatever floats your boat, man. If it's people selling you horrible, life-debilitating insurance, hey, go right for it, man.
She does give a good performance. She's got some comedic timing.
Yeah, she's good. You know what? Let's both go out and buy Progressive Auto insurance. See if I can't get her digits.
Is that who's sponsoring the show this week?
Yeah, sure. Probably not after this.
Okay.
Man, I could have had a really good thing going with them. Oh, well.
I've got nothing else. Okay, where was I? Right, so, paperwork misfiling at the Department of Records. I'd been trying to get the situation corrected, but the Department of Records refused to admit their mistake, and Stephanie Courtney hadn't returned any of my phone calls to discuss filing an annulment. So, marriage was pretty well off the table for me for the foreseeable future. Well, then, Fredley said, that really only leaves countering with a violent conquest to reclaim the rest of their kingdom. To claim the rest of their kingdom, not reclaim it. We haven't owned it yet.
We're reclaiming what we never owned in the first place. It's a brilliant strategy.
But as I said at the beginning of all this, I'm not really into conquest or violence. So I really couldn't see a way forward with that strategy, even if it was the proper occupation of kings. And I explained all that to Fredley, and I could see him getting that look in his eyes, like he's thinking, oh, I don't know what we've gotten ourselves into with this guy. Like, he just doesn't seem like the sort to live up to what we need in a king. And the whole time he's thinking that, if I'm honest, I have to admit, I was thinking it too. But then I thought, no, gosh darn it. There's more ways to end hostilities than just marriage and war. So I said to Fredley, you know what? Let's just get their king into a room with me to sit down and talk and see what we can't work out. And Fredley was all, well, I guess you could try that if you really want. But it's actually the prime minister you'd have to negotiate with. They're a more progressive kingdom than we are. But that was fine by me, so Fredley arranged the meeting. The prime minister's name was Maine. You know, like Maxine, but from further north. We met in the... Oh, I didn't think I was getting the laugh on that one.
No, you did. You earned it.
Okay. We met in the parking lot between our respective kingdoms, each of us on our own side of the negotiating table that straddled the border. Well, two halves of two different negotiating tables, actually, as we'd agreed to each provide an equal measure of the diplomatic accoutrement. Her kingdom included a furniture store, so her half of the table was part of a tastefully embellished oak dining set, while ours was a cast iron patio table from the gardening section of the grocery store. The two pieces had been patched together with a considerable amount of duct tape, which left the whole thing sagging a bit in the middle, but it was satisfactory for our purposes. So first thing Maine does on joining the meeting is apologize for Paea's assassination attempt. That wasn't what she'd been sent to do, but you know how it is when you've got pressing business, but you're kept waiting much too long at the relevant government office. Wait, oh god, I did this again. But you're kept waiting much too long at the relevant government office much too long.
That's how long it was.
It was really long. And I allowed, as I certainly understood that, what with my recent wranglings with the Department of Records. Maine said that Paea was back home now and was much happier for it, though she was laid up with a sprained ankle after her slip on the guacamole. Naturally, I sent one of my baggers to arrange flowers in a Mylar balloon to be delivered right away. From there, we moved on to discussing terms for mutual tranquility. And it happened that we were mostly on the same page, both hoping to avoid violence and establish trade agreements. They need our surplus of gardening supplies, which we were happy to offload as it was time to change the seasonal displays anyway. And they had a bagel shop with 7 more flavors of cream cheese than our bagel shop had. So that worked out pretty well for all involved.
Holy crap.
We agreed to put aside assassinations, continue trade relations, and as a matter of humanitarian aid, we even agreed to shift the borders slightly, 3 feet in our direction, to return one of their handicapped parking spaces. So, yeah, that's about it. I'm still king, and it's been a pretty peaceful era after those early bumps. I've settled into my chambers, had all my stuff from my old apartment brought over, and issued a mandate that the deli counter must offer free cheese samples every weekday, which really boosted my support among the populace. I never did get my Ada Lovelace finger thinker, though. Apparently that whole line of finger puppets was discontinued. Bummer. The end.
Oh my god, that was great. That is the first story we've had where I was like, you know what? We need to make this into a show. I need to see just a bunch of sad fucking strip mall workers acting like they're in the fucking kingdom.
Yep.
With the gravitas of like a Game of Thrones or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we could do it. They think they can take our meats aisle. Not without a fucking fight. My father cut that pastrami with his bare hands. That was great. So what did you think about the show?
This was fun. This was very fun.
Oh god, my seat applauded us apparently. If you'd like to support Lane's chair fund, just send money in a sealed envelope to an address, and someone will grab it.
They generally will.
Yeah. I've noticed that if you leave money in an envelope in a mailbox, people tend to grab for it.
Nobody complains.
No, I mean, who's gonna? Oh, I gotta take this $1,000 check back to the mall. I was about to say to the mall. Who the fuck sends their mail at the mall?
There's banks there. You can deposit it. I guess.
I guess.
Buy some insurance.
Yeah, buy some Progressive auto insurance from your gal Flo. Everybody's favorite Playboy model. Playmate of the year 2011 to 20 forever. Hey, actress of Flo, if you would like to be on Impromptu Fiction...
That would be awesome.
That I would just give up the show after that. It's her and Stephen King. If Stephen King was like, yeah, I'd like to be on... I don't even know if that's a Stephen King voice. I don't know what he sounds like, if I'm honest. Hey, I'm Stephen King. I wrote It and The Shining and its sequel. I want to be on Impromptu Fiction.
Yeah, whoa.
Jesus, chair. Calm down. All right, well, Alex, we're going to wrap it up for today, but just in case someone wants... Shut up, chair. Jesus. In case someone wants to hear more from you, where can they find your work?
Well, they can find me at greaterbostonshow.com, where we have the show that Jeff Van Driesen and I co-write and co-produce. And they can find my super weird experimental audio production that I'm doing for James at wtfrequency.com. That is What's the Frequency. And those are my projects.
Good. And of course, we're going to have them in the show notes below. This has been a very great episode of Impromptu Fiction with Lane and Friends. I'm Lane.
And I'm Alexander.
And goodbye, everybody, for the last time, because the show's canceled. Just kidding.
I killed it!
I killed it. We're done.
Violent conquest.
Impromptu Fiction was created by me, Lane Lloyd. The music in Impromptu Fiction was all created and performed by Bensound, and if you want a link to their work, it's going to be in the show notes below, and I really think you should check them out and use their music if you want to, because it is all fantastic. You know, I'm only using a few select tracks because they kind of work with what I'm going for at the time, but I've listened to all the music they have on there, and it is amazing. It's really good for any projects that you're working on. It's all, like, you can use it all for free. Just, you know, obviously give them credit because, one, they deserve it, and two, it's the right thing to do. But yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, check them out. It's going to be in the show notes below. Our guest tonight was, or today, whenever you're listening to this podcast, I don't know, was Alexander from In Greater Boston, and you can find all of his work in the show notes below. He's also working on What's the Frequency, which is a really good podcast. I don't think episode 2 comes out the 11th of October, so check it out then. As you may have figured, there is something weird going on in the show. I'm building a plot to something, and it's for the Halloween special this year, which I'm not going to go into too much detail because I want to iron out some of the things first. I need to make sure the guests who I've asked to be on can actually be on and do it. And I said guests, so that's a good clue. It's going to be something big. It's something that may not work. I should also say that if you want more of me throughout the week, I also do a show called Sable, which is a horror single narrative podcast. So think of it like an audiobook in podcast form. I was talking on there about how the Halloween specials that I do for Sable, which is it's a comedy, it's kind of the joke that I made where Sable's Halloween special is a comedy called Ray Costly. And I was talking about how, this year while I've been writing the Sable's Halloween special, I wasn't nervous and I wasn't going, oh God, this is not going to fucking work, because I've already done it. Like I already did a year of it. So, I'm not going to say that that means that every Ray Costley thing that I do is going to be gold, but I at least know that format works. For Impromptu Fiction's Halloween special, I'm dreading it. I'm excited for it. I really want to do it, but I'm also dreading it because it's kind of going to be bigger than what the show usually is. And so that's been, it's been a ball of stress for me. Thank you so much for the kind words on the solo episode last week. Really hoping that won't be a normal thing, because I believe I'm recording another episode tonight, if all things go well. Trying to build a big enough buffer so we don't have to keep having solo episodes. So stay tuned to the Twitter for more information on the Halloween special for Impromptu Fiction. Kind of working on some things before I'm willing to announce it, like I said earlier. I think that's it for tonight, though. So check out Sable, check out In Greater Boston, definitely check out What's the Frequency, and keep your ears to the Twitter feed, which makes no sense. Keep your ears to the Twitter feed for updates on the Halloween special. So this is Lane for Impromptu Fiction saying, keep writing, write what you love, and more importantly, have fun doing it. Peace.